Astra Travelers, and welcome to another episode of Tales of Teyvat, a Genshin Lore Podcast. Last time, we went splunking in Natlan as we discussed Where the Springs Returned, the People of the Springs Tribal Chronicle. In this episode, we're going to be going back to the Sumeru Desert for the 900th time, where we actually go splunking again as we discuss the Dirge of Bilqis, Jeht's second story.
Are you shielding your eyes, looking for a guiding lamp to light your way through the harsh winds of lore? Well, wander over to our website, talesofteyvat.com, where Tiff will usher you into our little oasis filled with visuals for each episode we do.
While you're on our site, make sure you check out our past episodes and seasons, along with some special episodes. We also include artist spotlights in each webpage and some other fun stuff.
Finally, feel free to email albedo at talesofteyvatpod@gmail.com to let us know what you think of this episode and what topics you'd like to see in the future. Additionally, travelers can check us out on social media, where we're on Instagram, Tales of Teyvat Pod, or Twitter, Tales of Teyvat. We're also on Blue Sky, Threads, and YouTube under the same names. And travelers can also feel free to check out our Ko-fi, where you can buy us a cup of coffee, or check out our merch store, where all proceeds go to funding the Twink Tank so that we don't have to have as many gimmicks each week, and making sure that we're able to fund the podcast, including our web hosting and our editing softwares. Now, I did not expect to spend another week of lore in the cave systems, but we did.
We like caves.
We like caves. I don't like caves.
Well, at least we didn't call these islands. We knew we were in a cave.
That's true. We called it a goblet at one point, but this week we're returning to the desert. And if you're new to Tales of Teyvat, this is not the first time that we have ventured out into the Sumeru Desert with not enough water, not enough sunblock, and definitely not enough paper in our notebooks for all of the lore that we continue to get. We're doing it all in chronological order. We have finally made it to present times. This is our second episode that really is mostly in game time, which is exciting. But if you want to check out our past episodes about the desert, some of which will definitely help you understand certain parts of this episode, especially when we talk about Gurabad. You can check out episode 34, The Gods of the Desert, episode 54, Liloupar and the Fall of Gurabad, episode 64, because we apparently loved fours for these at first, Remnants of Gurabad, episode 78, The Temple of Silence, episode 85, Pari Land, and episode 105, The Golden Slumber, which is our part one of Jeht's story. One of our favorite NPCs who has given us White Day art and has recently shown up again in story. In our last episode about Jeht, episode 105, The Golden Slumber, we met Jeht and her dad, Jabriel, where we went on a little bit of an adventure with them. And we also met her mom's asshole cousin, Terzad, who totally thought that Jeht's dad was a himbo and was not good enough for his cousin. We found out that Jeht's mom was dead, R.I.P., and sooner rather than later, Jeht's dad ends up also dying as he enters the Golden Slumber, which was something set up by King Deshret many, many moons ago. We won't get too into that. You can check out the last episode if you want to learn more. But when we last saw Jeht, despite the fact that both her parents were dead, she had now found Benben, a triangular technical companion to hang out with. And despite her grief, she was ready to thrive.
I mean, who doesn't need a primal construct as a best friend?
I mean, Kaveh seems to thrive with his.
Yeah.
So
I mean, it's sort of like a cell phone.
It was Kaveh's birthday recently, and he sent us tomatoes because Marak apparently is out hanging out with people now.
Oh.
Yeah. It's ridiculous. So primal constructs, they're the new fad in Teyvat.
My favorite Marak lore is that he's programmed to acknowledge Al-Haytham as well and do what Al-Haytham says. And I'm like, oh, we see you're married. It's fine.
Don't you just feel like eventually Kaveh will be doing chores for Marak?
I think you're right.
Marak's got his feet up on the counter. Yeah. It would be great.
I don't think Jeht will ever be doing chores for that bad.
I don't think so.
Jeht is too much of that bitch to be doing Benben's chores.
Yeah.
But I love to think of Benben hanging out with our other favorite primal construct over. His name went out of my head as I was about to say it. Please remind me.
Are you talking about Carcata?
Yeah, Carcata.
Yeah.
Is Carcata a prime?
He's probably not a primal construct as much as he's just a mechanical being, but like they have to be BFFs.
Yeah.
Just remember, guys, Carcata got evacuated as well. That's all you need to know. He matters.
It does.
So there's no Carcata, unfortunately, in this quest, because that means there would also be Tainari, and I don't get to thrive in those ways.
Aw.
So this quest actually starts with the Traveler and Paimon returning to Sumeru for some reason. We just happen to be there. And Catherine is like, thank God you guys are here. I got a letter from Jeht for you guys.
Thank God.
Thank God. Thank God. Did you not know that Catherine's from Yonkers?
Yeah, I was gonna say. I know she was out on the island.
But wouldn't she be like, thank Sandrone?
Thank Sandra. I mean, that's not her god, that's mother.
Yeah. Did you know that if you talk to Catherine with Sandrone, she says like her intro's different?
What is she like? Hey, mom.
Really? Oh, I have to.
Yeah, she's like, she says something like, what can I do for you, my lady? Or she says something, my
Oh,
lady.
that's awesome.
I'm sorry. Why aren't I my lady?
Because you didn't build her.
I'm sorry, but I show up as like, I don't know, Kaya. Like, I'd be my lady. I'd be like, yes.
Well, you're going to have to take that up with Sandrone so she can reprogram all the Catherines.
I'll talk to her. It'll go well, I'm sure. But she basically is like, I got a letter from Jeht for y'all. And it's not an Adventurers Guild commission or anything. It's just like between you and a friend. And so we're like, ooh, Jeht. And we open the letter and Jet's like, hey, friends, just want to let you know that I'm like setting up camp in this tenant camp and I'm staying there and it's great. But I have some unfinished business that I need to attend to that relates to our last journey together.
Mhm.
And so if you guys have time and since you're in town, would you mind coming out to this desert area that's very dangerous and that you have not explored yet and come check it out with me and we can do this together?
But it's fine because she prefaces it with, to my best friends.
Mm-hmm.
Which sells us immediately.
I mean, how do you say no to that?
Like, is there going to be pyro magic? Like
The power of pyro.
Fuck finding my sibling. I got a BFF over here. This is the episode of BFFs.
And, if Babel had a vision, I feel like she'd be pyro.
Yeah,
Yeah.
totally.
little Signora wannabe.
Yeah, exactly. But, because the Traveler apparently has nothing better to do, we run out to the desert without a moment to spare. We don't hesitate. We just run out there. Who is our sibling? I don't know. I think I'm an only child.
I love the extra information that Catherine gives us, by the way, about the Tanit camp. And she's like, Paimon kind of points out, wow, she's really is like a walking encyclopedia. And she's like, Tanit camp is at the ruins of what was once Gurabad, and I've marked it on your map. And then she also starts telling us about tribal migration patterns.
I can't.
She's like, the tribe will be settled at their camp for the next 2 or 3 years, as is the custom of tribal migration. And I'm like, and Paimon's like, I don't think it's going to take us that long to get there.
Leave it to Paimon.
Well, Catherine's like, since you guys like to accept side quest after side quest after side quest, it might take you 2 to 3 years to get out there.
Yeah.
Does that mean that, so this quest came out, probably 2 years ago? Does that mean that tribe's gonna be gone in like a year?
Oh, are they really?
Well, spoiler alert.
Well, true.
Oh, God.
Not all, just most.
of them.
But regardless, so we go out there and Paimon's like, oh my God, this is so dangerous. Like, I hear a lot of people get attacked over here. And I'm like, girl, where are you hearing this from? You haven't joined the academia yet. Like, you shouldn't have Sumeru knowledge.
You don't have your detective glasses yet.
Yeah.
Mhm.
You haven't upgraded Paimon to a level where you know this.
She hasn't downloaded the new version yet.
I'm like, your system has not updated. You don't see facial features yet in these people.
Well, then she never got an Akasha terminal, right? Like, they're just like, she don't need one.
No, just us. Just we got one.
She's like, I would never wear that. I am an Akasha terminal.
Literally. So we get to the camp and we're greeted by 2 guys who are pretty aggressive with us.
Oh, yeah.
But once we're able to prove to them that we're Jet's friends, they change their tune a little bit. They're still a little sus of us because we're outsiders. Because what we'll soon learn is that the Tanit camp is all about the Tanit and nothing else.
Yeah, and then they send us over to the real asshole.
Yeah, so they're basically like, Jeht isn't here right now, but there's some other people you can go talk to. So you can go talk to asshole 1, 2, or 3.
Yeah.
What's the best part about this is because it's an unvoiced stuff and you're reading it all. I read Taint constantly every time I saw Tanit. So it's
Oh my
just
god,
fitting.
the Taint Tribe.
It's the Taint Tribe, yeah. Every single time I would read it like that.
I'm sure that wasn't uncommon for people.
Yeah. Maybe I was calling it the Taint.
And let us
The
know it in the
Taint.
comments.
Go explore the Taint.
I mean, it makes sense because that's where you first saw the butthole in the sky.
Yeah.
It's all lining up.
This is the butthole in the sand. Gurabad is the ass crack.
Wait, we have a taint in the desert, a clit in the forest, and a butthole in the sky. Sumeru is crazy.
Lucy in the sky with diamonds, man. It's a lot. But so we go to see asshole number 1, and he's a Derfy. He's very wary of outsiders, and he thinks that outsiders are going to ironically taint Jeht. And he truly wanted nothing to do with us.
And he says that Jet's been spending too much time outside the tribe to have made friends with rich people in fancy clothing.
Thank you for the compliment. I'm not rich, though.
I know. Like, do you know how broke I am in this game? Like, I just asked Androne. I can't even fully level her up yet.
I'm like, do you think I'm Tiff?
You think we're Mualani?
You have the money in this game, Tiff.
I do have the money in this game. I had to do something and I ran out of a resource and I was like, I don't know what this is. And then I was like, is this how the common folk are?
Oh my god. I will say that I spent quite some time the other day just giving like random 5-star characters artifacts, mostly because of Imaginarium and trying to have characters that are halfway decent. And I spent 3 million Mora leveling up artifacts before I ran out of artifacts. And I was like, wow, that's crazy.
Say, what did you think you were going to run out of first, Mora or artifacts?
Oh, I knew it was artifacts. I'm not broke in this game. Like Brandon. But I'm not rich like Tiff. I'm the middleman here. I'm middle working class.
We run the gamut. And
Yeah.
Yes, you can tell by our teapots who is the richest of them all. Tiff's is full of animals and pets. And she can pay for pet sitters to take care of them when she's away. So
I have vacation spots in my teapot as well.
I don't. I have a robot farm. That's albedos. That's it.
I have little kids like with no toys that just have to entertain each other by staring at each other.
I mean, that's your summoning circle.
Yeah.
It sounds like the children of the corn.
It's very scary. Don't go to Bee's Island. I'm obsessed with islands.
It's like Village of the Damned.
But that aside, Derfy is like, go talk to someone else, basically. I'm like, okay. So we go and we talk with Messiah. He's a little less wary of us, but he's pretty convinced that having friends is just going to get you killed.
Yeah, Messiah's so creepy and tells us, you look like a real killer. That you do. But companions, those will prove to be your undoing, your fatal weakness. And I'm like, does he know something that we should know before
I feel like he does.
they're the end of the game? Like, our friend's going to kill us?
Or is it about our sibling?
Yeah.
So Messiah, he sends us on our way. And that's when we go to talk to Yufton, the crocodile man. Not to be confused with the crocodile god, the crocodile pillar, so to speak. This is just a guy. And he tells us that Jeht is like this great kid, but he's very like, and he's like, our matriarch has returned. You should go talk to her. Bye.
Yeah, and I'm like, I don't understand does he have a speech impediment or is he just trying to talk slow and like gather his thoughts while he speaks? Because it's like, I don't know if he's talking like that because he's being sus or because he has a speech impediment.
I felt like it was because he was worried about Babel, because one of the other two did say that the matriarch wasn't in. And so I think Yufton is like, oh my God, I'm talking to an outsider that hasn't met our matriarch. I almost felt like it was a fear.
Right, so he's like nervous.
There's a lot of fear of Babel, the matriarch, we learn.
Yes.
I don't blame them, but there's a lot of fear leader amongst this tribe.
Yeah.
So we follow Yuftin's guidance and we go to find Babel. And when we walk up, she's kicking someone out of the tribe. She's like, you ain't family anymore. I wrote tainted a lot in my notes. It's so ironic. He gets kicked out of the tribe because he's tainted by outsiders. He spent too much time outside the familia. And he gets kicked out. And then Babel kind of like kicks him out. The guards take him away. She like flips her hair back and she's like, sorry about that.
I just had to do a quick verbal evisceration.
Literally. And Paimon's like, okay. And so we get talking to Babel, and she tells us that she's very excited to meet us, that Jeht has talked about us, and that Babel had actually approved Jeht reaching out to us to help her as she finishes this part of her journey. And at that moment, Jeht also arrives.
Yeah, and this is so creepy because Babel is like, how did it go with that fellow? And Jeht is like, I made sure that he was given sufficient dignity. And then Babel's like, okay, well, set your tears aside and greet your besties. And it's so like, is she having Jeht murder people?
Yes.
Or do you think she's fully like killing them? Or is she just...
Yes.
Okay.
This is the mob, 100%.
The desert mob.
It's the desert mob. Mm-hmm.
It's 100% she's killing people. And when she said dignity, I was like, oh, so like she didn't like, make him nude or anything.
I just assumed that meant like if she is murdering them, that she made it a quick death.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like just slit their throat or something. Instead of like slicing open their stomach or something crazy.
Yeah. Or like putting him on display.
Yeah.
There's no heads on stakes in this.
Quick and easy.
Right. Yeah. But that's really disturbing.
Yes, it is.
She's like, okay, now stop crying. Your friends are here. Go play.
Yeah, no more murder. So as we're talking with Babel and Jeht, and we're kind of talking about this journey that we're about to go off, Babel starts to warn Jeht about the fact that the adventure we're going to be going on is going to be very dangerous. And Babel ends up leaving. And when Babel leaves, Jeht starts to explain to us that she joined the tribe recently and that she feels like she's really growing as a person. She's more self-sufficient. She feels like she's really providing for the tribe and done a lot of maturing since we last saw her, which I think becoming an assassin does that to you.
Yeah. It makes you grow up.
And apparently it makes you more tan.
Yes.
Because Paimon's like, you've tanned a lot more.
Mm-hmm. And then Paimon, Jeht is like, don't cross me. I was like,
Oh, and also, this is one of the moments where you get a different reaction from her if you're Ether versus Lumine.
Oh, shit, okay.
So we tell her that she looks like she's matured, and then we ask if she's done well since we last met. And if you're Ether, she says, hee, did you think I was pining after you like some lovesick maiden? But if you're Lumine, she says, hardly. Not a moment has passed since then that I haven't thought of.
Man.
So could be flirty either way, but one of them definitely sounds more casual. I mean, after that, she's still kind of like, I was trying to make you blush. And it's kind of jokey about it, but this could be like seen as like the beginning of her like lesbian reveal.
Is that coming out?
Yeah.
Coming out story.
Yeah, there's some stuff later on that said that I was like, oh.
Yeah. And we don't always get different reactions from a character, especially in a world quest, based on which sibling you are. So I think that's part of the reason it caught everyone's attention.
Yeah, they definitely made like a show of Jeht in that way, which I think is why she's become a lot of people's favorite NPC.
Yes.
But so after we do this like slight catch up with Jeht, she's like, listen, we do have to do this journey, but first I have an errand to do, so I'm going to drag you guys with me. I'm like, okay. So we go down to Yuftin, the crocodile man, Steve Irwin of the Sumeru Desert. And we have to apparently feed his crocodiles, which I was like, why? So this is when we find out a little bit more. I thought it more cemented the fact while we're feeding the crocs with her that Jeht was totally murdering people who were considered traitors to the tribe. Like I felt like the conversation had here was like a cementing of that.
She doesn't flat out say it, but like we bring up how mean Babel is, and she says that like this traitor, she had to track him down for half a month and then knock out some of his teeth just to subdue him and bring him back. So she's definitely like a freaking henchman.
Oh, absolutely. And I honestly, there was a point where I questioned Jet's sanity. Like, I was like, is she psychotic?
Oh, yeah, yeah. She actually says, like, because we're kind of questioning, like, what's going on here? Like, the vibe seems off. The situation seems sus. Like, something weird is going on. And she's basically like, well, because I, used to deal with adventurers with my dad, Babel decided that it would be my job to deal with, like, the things or people outside the tribe, as well as tracking down traitors. And because I wasn't born among the Tanit, it's okay for me to treat traders more aggressively than other tribes people. And I'm not really sure if it's her giving me special privilege or just proof of my estrangement, but I don't really care. And she just keeps reiterating, like, I'm doing my best and I'm trying to fit in. And it's giving like the everything's fine, this is fine vibe, like that meme of like the little cartoon dog in the house that's on fire.
Yes. Meanwhile, she's got like blood on her hands.
Yeah.
And she's like, But first off, too, she also tells us that some fun side lore about the world. She tells us that the crocodiles in the desert are much nicer than the crocodiles in the forest because they've really had to adapt to the desert life. And apparently that made them nicer, which I thought was kind of fun. But once we're done feeding the crocs, Jeht goes up to Yufton and she's like, ugh, your crocodile food smells so bad. And he goes, traitor blood smells worse. And I was like, oh, okay.
Like, your job's worse than mine. But I was like, dude, are you feeding the traitors to the crocodiles?
Ooh.
Apparently not, because if the traitor's blood smells worse than the croc food, they can't be the same.
But I mean, times are tough. They should really reuse, recycle.
Reduce, reuse, recycle. Wow, Tiff.
This is what we need. We need sustainable traders.
Yeah.
For the crocs. Not the crocs you wear, but crocodiles.
Do you know the difference between a crocodile and an alligator?
Spelling.
You mean, is this a joke or do you mean for real?
To try to answer that.
I think she meant for real.
It's because it is a joke. Well, you're ruining my Sino moment.
Oh, no, sorry.
What
is it? What's the difference, Tiff?
It depends. One will see you in a while.
I hate it here.
That's terrible.
One will see you later and one will see you in a while.
Crocodile.
I ruined it, but
what?
Saying
I
it because I was laughing
I'm
so
glad
much.
that I did it.
Sino's hurt. I mean, he always has to explain his jokes anyway, but it's see you later, alligator, in a wild crocodile. So that's how you know which one you're
shaking my head.
What are the ones that are like smaller than both of them?
Komodo
lizards.
They look like a crocodile, but I think they're like a little smaller.
Hey, alligators come in smaller sizes. Where's Al? We need
Damn it.
Al knows all the crocodile alligator lore from the marshes of Florida. They're not marshes. What are they?
Swamps.
Cayman.
Why
don't they have a phrase? Why don't Cayman have a phrase?
Because no one knows who they are.
Yeah. They just say bye.
Yeah. They're just like, we'll see you next week, Jim. Like
Cayman, who knew they were such squares?
Oh my God.
Is that what the Cayman Islands are named after? Is the Cayman?
Or are they named after the
Cayman
Cayman
they're rich.
Islands?
That's why no one talks about them.
So anyway, once Yufton and Jeht have their moment, Yufton's like, by the way, can you bring a Deerfie some of my crocodile jerky? And we're like, sure. And so we go up to this guy at Durfee, and he's standing from this tent that has Benben in it, and he's very grateful for the jerky, and he's basically, in charge of fixing Benben up, because Benben was in rough shape after the last journey we went on together. So once we're finally all alone with Jeht after this, she tells us, like, enough errands, I'm so sorry. Here's what you're really here to do. Babel, our matriarch, is allowing me to go to the Eternal Oasis, where I'll be able to put my parents to rest officially. Even though I don't have bodies or ashes for either one of them, so truly they will not be at rest. But I have items and it'll be close enough. And we're like, cool. She tells us that there's a lot of lore and like rumors around the Eternal Oasis, and that they're pretty sure it's located in the middle of the never-ending sandstorm that exists in the middle of the desert. And that the people of the tribe actually aren't allowed to go there because of how dangerous it is. She even says that some older folks believe that ancient spirits roam there, hungering for souls and flesh. And this is another moment, though, where Jeht goes, but I'm an outsider, kind of. I don't really care about those rumors.
Mm-hmm. It'll be
I'm
fine.
cool.
Everything's great.
I'm only half an outsider, but, that part of me is allowed to go.
Yeah.
Maybe that's why her eyes are closed. She has them thing over her eyes because she's like, that's the actual, like, mercenary part of me that's supposed to be here in the tribe. The rest of me is allowed to be here. I do what I want.
And Jeht actually does explain that she feels like Babel is only letting her do this because she is only half of an outsider and half of a tribe member, and therefore the rules that apply to full tribe members don't really apply to her as much.
Yeah.
She also tells us that this is the place that they think is the resting place for the goddess of flowers, Nabu Malikata.
I love Nabu Malikata. I love every time she comes up, and I love saying her name. Nabu Malikata.
It is one of the most fun names to say in the game.
Mm-hmm.
I keep wanting to say that she's beautiful, but I've never seen her.
Yeah.
Can't say for sure certain.
But I mean, she's the goddess of flowers. It would suck if she was ugly. Oh,
I mean, true.
I felt bad as soon as I said it. Everybody's beautiful in their own way.
Except that one person. You all know that one person.
You all know who you pictured when I said it.
Damn. And why was it Dodoray for all of us? No. But she says, this is probably going to be dangerous. Like, are you sure you're into this? And we're like, oh my God, girl, of course we'll help. And that's when we set off to go to the old Gorabad ruins to find a piece of a Jinni.
Yeah, now, I did also just want to say that she told us that she had the idea of inviting us to witness her finding this place because we're the closest thing she has to a family now that her father has died.
Cries.
I know, that's so sad.
It's also sad because then we meet someone that she says is like a brother to her. And apparently this fragment is going to help us find the Eternal Oasis. And she mentions that we're going to go talk to someone named Azarik who knows more. So on our way to Gorabad, we should get some basic Gorabad lore from Jeht, that it's like, it's an ancient kingdom and blah, blah, blah. We're not going to get into it because we have a whole episode on Gorabad. We have 2 episodes on Gorabad.
I do just enjoy knowing, if you listen to our Gorabad episodes, like, this is just fun to know, like, exactly where the ruins of it are.
Yeah, definitely.
So the Tanit Tribe is, like, right by them, and it's, like, the ass crack of the sand, like, where the taint is, like, right by the taint is, like, where the actual city ruins are.
Yeah.
Now, was our episode about Gorabad before this came out? I don't remember. Because I think it's...
No.
One thing that has, and this is good just for people to know in general, we've been doing this for a couple of years now. So sometimes our older episodes, we don't go back and change them because it's what we knew at the time. So in some cases, we find things out afterwards that we don't go and change anything that came out at the time.
No, I'm pretty sure that was before because the Liloupar had already been introduced.
Okay.
And like we had been like, a lot of that lore comes from like traveling around with her separately.
Okay.
And so we first meet her in this quest. So this had come out by then.
So our first episode was in season 2. That's the Gods of the Desert episode. Does not talk probably about Gorabad at all.
Right.
We first talked about Gorabad in episode 54, Liloupar and the Fall of Gorabad, which we released on January 2nd in 2024. The quest itself that we're covering right now, the Dirge of Bilqis, was released in January of 2023. So it took us a year to get to Gorabad.
Okay.
We talked about the gods first and then headed over here. But we go to Gorabad, we learn some basic lore from Jeht, and we're like, wow, Jeht, you know a lot. And she's like, well, Babel makes us read. And I was like, ugh, what a loser. And then we end up finding Azarik at the ruins, and he's been waiting for us. And you get this kind of like fun sibling dynamic out of Azariq and Jeht, where he's like, "Hey, little wild cat, like you kept me waiting half the day," and she's like, "Ugh," and like she kind of like, I feel like in my head she was like punching him in the arm, like, Azariq." They bicker a little bit, and that's when Jeht explains to us that ever since she joined the tribe, Azariq has been like an older brother to her.
And this is the moment.
Line. This is when Azariq talks and goes, basically, like, it'd be different if she didn't like hanging out with ladies more, which is like the lesbian allegation of the century.
Yeah, he does like a sigh. He's like, and then he says, yes, she treats me like a brother, and we get along better still if she didn't like hanging out with the ladies more.
Which I'm just going to throw out there. There's something we find out at the very, very end of this quest that makes this really kind of creepy too.
Yeah. For sure.
Anyway, but Jeht basically replies being like, "Are you being homophobic?" Like she's like, "And is there something wrong with that?"
Yeah, if you're Ether, she says, "And so what? Do you have a problem with that?" But if you're Lumine, she says, Hey, quit it. Stop giving them the wrong idea." As in, like, Lumine's gonna think that I wanna, that I'm interested in her like that.
And it's okay if you are, baby girl. It's fine.
You basically already told us.
Yes, it's okay. Come out of the closet. We're here to support you at the Twink Tank.
Yeah.
Ladies' Night is Thursdays.
She'd be so much happier. Like, you don't even have to kill people to be a lesbian.
Yeah,
you just exist. You just have to come out of the closet. That's it.
Yeah.
And your own time, baby girl. We're here for you. And Azariq talks to us a little bit, and he's like, you promise you'll make sure Jet's okay through this all? And we're like, yes, we'll take care of her. And Jet's like, I'm not a kid, guys. And we all just roll our eyes because she is everyone's baby. So then we learn that Azariq was sent here by Babel to start guiding us into the city of Gorabad. He's supposed to get us, halfway there type of thing.
And I do love that, like, Jeht and Azariq explain, it helps kind of make sense of like why they're so on board with her going to the Eternal Oasis, even though it's like a very taboo thing for their tribe. And that's because, we're looking for the mother of the Jinn, who of course turns out to be Liloupar or Liloupar. And they're looking, for her to show us the way to the Oasis. But they explain that the Jinn were familiars of the goddess of all oases, which is the goddess of flowers. So the Oasis will naturally accept them. And the Jinn's powers were also designed to create fertile lands. So the Tanit believe that they'll be able to restore fertility to the tribe's soil if they get access to this area, to the Eternal Oasis, or if they at least have control of a genie.
Which gives you the first inkling that maybe this isn't about Jeht laying her parents to rest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
We've suspected it, and now we're like, okay, I see what's going on here.
Yeah. Oh, you didn't care about my dead parents.
Right.
Thanks.
Oh, you might be using her for your own selfish reasons.
Mm-hmm.
Got it.
It makes more sense when you're like, oh, but you can go because you're only half.
Mm-hmm.
Let me find a little skirt around this.
I will also add that they tell us that the reason they couldn't tell us any of this while we were at the tribe was because Babel believes that people are always listening. So she's suspicious of her internal people, according to Azariq and Jeht. So after we get all this lore, we end up doing a bunch of puzzles and activating devices and fighting baddies as we make our way inside. And basically the puzzle, we walk in and we see this like big triangle pyramid thing. It's covered in sand, and we have to figure out a way to uncover it with sand. And there's these devices around it, but we really don't know how to unlock the devices. But then, once Traveler uses the power of Pyro and Friendship and puts their hand on the pyramid, it shows us guides to where we need to go to unlock it.
Yeah, and Azariq is like, oh, like you have innate elemental powers. Why don't you try doing this? He kind of lets it slip that even people with man-made delusions who have tried it have failed. And we're like, did you say delusions?
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, no, you must have misheard me. You must have sand in your ears.
Liar!
Like, sus.
Mm-hmm. But also, so this is why we were invited. Did Jeht actually write this letter, or did Babel? do it.
I do think Jeht wrote it because she was like, oh my God, you actually came when we first got there.
True.
But yeah, was it her idea?
Right.
Yeah. Babel being like, oh, that friend, that special friend you talked about? Why don't you invite her or him to come visit?
Yeah, it's definitely suspicious.
Now, while we're doing this puzzle, a few things do come out. Azariq mentions that he has more friends on the outside of the tribe than most people, which is like, but I thought we don't deal with outsiders. And Jeht is like, yeah, and that's why Babel favors him. And I'm like, why does she favor him if he knows all these outsiders?
Yeah.
And isn't that kind of the point of like why Jeht deals with traitors? Because she's dealt with more people on the outside before? Like, I'm like, okay, this is not lining up at all.
Mm-hmm.
Also, as we're exploring, Azariq mentions that the temple is truly wrecked. And it didn't look like it was given like a peaceful or calm ending when like things went wrong here. And Jet's like, did you not read the books? Like, do you not know that Gorobod was destroyed by the wrath of the Jinn? Like, come on, bro.
It's interesting because she talks about like, oh, like maybe it was, the Jinn doing it. Maybe it was like wee nut activity.
The wee nut activity killed me.
I know.
I was like, these caterpillars?
But Azariq, he keeps mentioning that it looks like a lot of the damage to the ruins was caused from the inside and wonders if it was because of like a civil war or an uprising from within. So I thought that was a fun little tie-in to the larger lore around Gorobod because that is what happened to it.
Unfortunately.
Yeah.
I hope we get to see Gorobod one day in like its prime.
Yeah, that would be awesome.
So at this point too, we're worried about like getting lost. And they're like, don't worry, like Jet's been dropping oil everywhere. And we're like, what the fuck does that mean? And they're like, oh, don't you know that Jeht has a superior sense of smell? That was like, no. Like, why would I know that?
No wonder she hates the crocodile meat.
Yes. So we also learned that the temple was built by someone named Ormazd in remembrance of King Al-Hamar, which is Deshret. And so Ormazd died in this temple and is buried in the sands, similarly to King Alkmaar. And Azariq is like, yeah, that's what it's like to be a desert folk. You are born to the land and you return to the sand in death. And Ormazd did it, our king did it, we're gonna all do it one day. And I was like, I feel like you're threatening our lives again. I just like anytime he talked, I was like,
so yeah.
It's like that one cousin that doesn't come to all your family functions, and you're kind of like, what did he say? This is why we don't invite him normally, right? Huh.
Also, the Ormazd, reference. There's a lot about him in our Fall of Gorobod episode.
Yes, he's a primary character.
Yeah.
But then we finish activating all the devices and we get the big thing to activate. And as it is floating out in the sky, well, not in the sky, in the cave system that we're in, we feel this rumble and everyone's like, oh, I think that came from like the outside. And Paimon's like, how can you tell? And one of your options is to be like, well, you fly, Paimon. Of course you wouldn't have felt it. And I was like, yes, we're acknowledging it.
Yeah.
And so we go outside and we see the infamous chess set has unearthed itself from under the sand. And there's another door. And we're like, all right, I guess we have to go explore that door. And Azariq's like, yeah, have fun. I'm like, what do you mean? He goes, well, Babel told me just to open the way for you, not to take you the entire way. And I was like, what the fuck bullshit is this?
And Jeht suspects that he wanted to leave because the area is so taboo and the tribe is scared of evil spirits and ruins and stuff.
Yes.
But that doesn't turn out to be true.
And then Jeht says, but I'm half an outsider. It's fine.
It's fine. Everything's fine.
Literally, I wrote in my notes, it was an exact quote I went, but this is Jeht the entire quest.
Yeah.
It's like that episode of Angel where Lorne is planning the party and is like, you hear that like ambient noise coming in where you think he's gonna snap, but then he's like, no, everything's fine.
The party's gonna be great.
Yeah.
Such a good fucking episode. The music the entire time was excellent. But anyway, so we're like, all right, bye brother Azarik. And we continue further into the door. And as we go, we find this oasis with a tree and some water. And we can see that there's something shiny laying underneath the tree. But of course, we have to fight monsters and stuff first. When we go to the tree, we see that it is a gin in a bottle. And we grab it. And as soon as we do so, the tree dies.
Wait, I'm so sorry. Can we back up for just a second? Because Jeht gives this like great lore that I just wanted to remind us of because I had completely forgotten about it. So she says that, you know, the area that opened up is called the Great Rift because it is the maw of the earth. And she says, there is a legend in our tribe. They say that in the days of Queen Nabu Malikata, there was a verdant land ruled by a tribe of giants. But later, the foolish giants grew vines that reached up to the heavens in order to listen for news of the heavens. Divine punishment came to them as a result, and the earth opened up and swallowed them. So we've mentioned this before, how like there's depictions of the angels in this game as being giants, right?
Yes.
So I just love how this like ties that together, because I don't remember when we started noticing that. I thought, was it the whatchamacallit, the extension of Liyue?
Chenyu Vale?
Yeah, was it Chenyu Vale or Natlan?
I feel like in Inazuma even, there's like, I think in Inazuma there's a painting of it, but you don't really put two and two together.
Right, until you see more of those.
Yeah, in that underground area, a cave again. There's a...
The chasm?
No, in Inazuma, I mean.
Oh, on Ruse Island, maybe.
Yeah.
You know, it's funny though, because like at the time, probably, because even when you reread it, my first thought was, oh, the giant golems that are all over the desert. Like, were they the ones up? Without even thinking, like, yeah, now that we know that angels are apparently not more than life size.
Well, I'd say with the golems too, we know they came out during the Cataclysm because they were like the Conrian technology. Because, right, they were...
Oh, like they emerged during that?
Yeah, like that was part of their like fight against the gods, I think, when all that was going down. We have the Switchingers, the Switchingers, what are they called? Amfortis and Friends.
Yeah.
Yeah, Swatton something.
Yes. But I do think that the frescoes in Dragonspine and the paintings in Inazuma depicted the angels as giants, but we just didn't know what the fuck they were.
Yeah.
And then Chenyu Vale was like, these were angels. And we were like, what?
Yeah, it just seems to confirm that like the angels were giants. And I did not remember that, but I love it. I also love they grew vines that reached up to the heavens in order to listen for news of the heavens. That is familiar also to Nabu lore, where remember like the end of her story is she creates some kind of bridge to the heavens for Deshret. And that's how he gets his forbidden knowledge.
Yeah. Well, it's also interesting because in Nodcry, we know they have that like tower to contact the heavens.
The space elevator?
No, I'm not there yet.
No, I'm sorry. I was thinking of Natlan's space elevator over in the...
in Ochka Natlan.
Oh, no. I'm talking about like during the Archon quest where we go to Hyperborea, the Hyperborea temple thing.
Oh, yes.
To try to ascend Columbina. But we also have one of those in Chenyu Vale you deal with during the Bluey quest line. And during, what is her name? Ibia,
the White Horse Adeptus.
Yeah, during the White Horse Adeptus quest, Zabai, you also learn more about that because you have the fucking my favorite group of 4 friends, Wu Tao, Xingqiu, Changyun, and Zhongling, being like, "Man, we came all the way here and nothing happened." And then as soon as they left, the moon was gone. I love those fuckers so much.
It also made me think of when it says that the foolish giants grew vines that reached up to the heavens. It also made that when the Melazine talks, like that weird Melazine describes Paimon as having a little like balloon string going up into the sky. It made me
the witchy Melazine.
Yeah.
My fave Mel.
But maybe they really just literally grew vines. Who knows? But I just love thinking about that stuff. And I can't wait to learn more about the angels.
Well, I also wonder if it's really like that Nabu made the vines to the heavens and they were just like, oh, all the angels did it.
Right. I mean, that could have been the bridge that she created that brought down, that basically destroyed the whole region. Would make sense. I mean, she is the goddess of flowers, so.
Yeah.
So we do end up in this oasis area as we continue further down the new door, and there's a tree and there's some water, and we've just gotten all this lore. We make our way over to the tree to grab something shiny under it. We get attacked by some monsters. But as soon as the monsters are gone, we go up and pick up a gin in a bottle. But as soon as we do so, the tree dies. All the water is gone, and it's very dark. And I was like, oh, okay.
Maybe we shouldn't have picked this up.
Yeah. So we go outside because it's a scary area, and the bottle is just immediately snarky with us. Like, it starts talking, and it calls Jess, like, a desert maiden. And then it asks the traveler if they're an exiled prince or princess, depending on who you play. Which I was like, oh, do you know something I don't, Liloupar? Because we later learned that she knows a lot more than I know about anything. And that's when she's like, I'm Liloupar. I'm like, oh, okay.
I love her so much. She says, you obstreperous oaf. Where did you get that active yet actively useless tongue of yours, I wonder? And my other favorite quote of hers is, oh, the tedium.
She is fantastic.
I want to start saying that. I'm going to start saying that in my everyday life. Oh, the tedium. Anytime I'm bored.
Yeah, I wish she was like voiced back then too.
I know.
So Jeht, though, is like, oh my god, I've read about you. Like, you're in the history books. And then before we know it, Liloupar starts calling us my lord or my lady. Because apparently picking her up made it so that we had a contract with her. Liloupar says something snarky, and Jet's like, aren't you the one who drowned Ormazd and his family in honey because you hate humanity? And I'm like, girl, you did what? You're a bottle.
And find out what really happened. It's like, oh shit. Because isn't that like when they poisoned everyone with honey?
Yes.
They're like had a big banquet and they're like, enjoy.
Don't you like, so we have a Genshin villains playlist, and I did put Liloupar on there because I have feelings about her.
Oh, she's very villainous for sure.
Yeah, I mean, especially back in the day. Like, I think in current game, she is much less of a villain than she is back in the old Gorobod days. But anytime I see her, I just think of the song we picked for her, which is I Love It by Icona Pop with Charlie XCX. And it's the, I crashed my car into the bridge. I don't care. That's literally her. Like,
yeah, totally.
She's got the sunglasses on and everything. She's like, I don't care.
Getting revenge on everyone around her with her like sunglasses on, like peeking out.
She did some wild shit. If you if you don't know much about Liloupar and you really you gotta listen to our episode about her, because man, she is just
one of the most iconic characters in the game.
Yeah.
And this is when we're talking about the fact that, we're trying to go to the Eternal Oasis, and we're kind of explaining our plan to Liloupar, and Liloupar goes, listen, I'm not helping this desert maiden at all. And her matriarch, I'm not helping her either. And I was like, did we even mention Babel? Like, I was like, what? She goes, but I'm going to help my lord or lady, and therefore I will help you, but not intentionally. Just doing what my contract wielder has told me to do. It was very Zhongli of her.
Yeah.
And then she's like, hey, can I whisper in your ear, master, and tell you my true name? And I'm like, oh, sure. And so she comes up and she gets real close to us. And she's like,
and we're like, stop it, that tickles, stop it.
Your bottle tickles. Your bottle's cold. And whatever we hear, we don't actually find out her true name, which is really fucked up, just throwing it out there.
Yeah.
But we do know that whatever is said is unspeakable elegance and gentleness. But then at the end, it kind of stings like a viper bite. And once she's done, Lil goes, now we're bound. And I was like, is this like a mating ritual? Like, I was so confused. I was like, what do you mean that you bit me and now we're like locked together for life? I didn't consent to that.
Liloupar's not one to ask for consent.
That's for sure. Killing, incest, she's all about it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then that's when Paimon is like, does it seem like Jeht is mad? And Jeht is mad. And she's pretty pissy because I think she wanted to be the one to bond with Liloupar. since we are going on the journey to find her, to, lay her parents to rest.
And it also makes her not as valuable to the tribe.
Yes. And this is when Liloupar goes, I think she's mad because she isn't a mother yet. I was like, what? I was
like, are we?
I was like, what?
Not everyone has to do that anymore, Liloupar.
Yeah, Liloupar, what the fuck? Like, so as we're leaving the ruins, a messenger appears from Babel saying that she needs to talk with Jeht ASAP and alone. Jeht is annoyed with Liloupar anyway, so she leaves. She's like, good luck. I'm going. And we're like, okay, bye. We're so sorry. And the messenger looks at us and kind of shrugs and is like, just follow the way and you'll get there too. And he leaves. And I'm like, bro, you could have stayed with us.
Yeah.
We learn soon why he didn't. And this was one of my favorite Liloupar quotes. As Jeht runs away, Liloupar goes, I love the earnest impulsiveness of young women.
Yeah.
Like, what does that mean, Liloupar? Is it because you killed people as a young woman?
She is about girl power.
She is.
She's like, back in my day, when I was a young woman, I birthed 100 babies.
Yeah.
And some of them were brothers and cousins. It's okay. Just do it. She's the Nike slogan.
She's like, you get mad at a family member, doom generation after generation.
Yeah.
Who cares?
Kill them. Poison them.
Why only ruin their life for 50 years when you could do it for hundreds?
Yeah. Life's an adventure.
Generations are an adventure.
Yeah.
Look at this family tree right here. Look at what I did to it.
She's like, I did that. I did. She's like tapping.
It's
where it
rotting
ended.
tree.
I did that.
You see this guy down here? He died like 800 years after I died. Well, I started it. I planned that shit.
This tree has holes and worms and stuff coming out of it.
She's like, it's beautiful. Don't take the honey. So as we start to walk, Liloupar's like, ooh, I sense something sinister up ahead. We should be careful. And I'm like, who are you? Where do you get these senses? And then we get cornered and attacked by members of Jeht's tribe. And I can very vividly remember playing this and feeling so betrayed. Like, I had the same feeling I did when Child tried to kill us in Liyue Harbor. My heart was just like, how could you do this to me? Because there was a moment for me where I was like, is Jeht in on this?
Yeah. For sure.
And actually, although they look like the Tanit Tribe, they're actually from a different tribe.
Oh, right. I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. Because I think we even say something like, wait, that looks like, the tribe. But then we find out that they're actually from this tribe called the Athia tribe. But we find out that they were hired by a Derfi of the Tanit Tribe. Because
as we're killing people and making our way back to the Tanit Tribe following Jeht's path, we're finding all these notes. And one of the notes even says that, like, they were supposed to take down anyone that had a djinn with them on this journey back. So a Derfi would have killed Jeht if it was her as well, was the kind of the suggestion there.
Yeah, or the people he hired, yeah.
And a Derfi, just as a reminder, is the guy who is fixing Benben for Jeht as well.
Yeah, and the one who was like extra rude to us.
Yes.
That said that thought we were rich.
So we finally return to the tenant camp and we go straight to Babel, who's like, oh, hey, Jeht and Azarik are waiting for you. And we're like, girl, your people tried to kill us. And she's like, what? And then we are like, look at this letter. It says that a Derfi was trying to kill us. And she's like, oh, well, I guess he's a traitor now, too.
Yeah, he shall be exiled.
Even though he already left the tribe to get supplies. So, I mean, I guess
he's not here at the moment, but I promise to spank him when he comes back.
Literally. And then she's like, oh, almighty Liloupar. And Liloupar's like, I don't want anything to do with you, ho.
It's so great. She literally yawns in her face.
Yeah.
Like, whatever, leave me alone.
And Liloupar is refusing to help Babel with anything. So Babel is talking very like, oh, my high and mighty lord, though who has bestowed virtuous plants onto, she's very like, da-da-da about it. And as you guys just said, Liloupar yawns.
You got a contract with her?
You can literally see her whole head start to twitch. She's like, really?
Yeah.
But we're like, listen, we're still gonna, use Liloupar to help Jeht lay her parents to rest. Because that's who we're here for, Babel. Jeht and her parents, not you. And we're like, all right, peace out, Cub Scout. Like, we're gonna go talk to Jeht and Azariq. And this is where Jeht is like, listen, I'm sorry. Like, I was being mad petty earlier. She's like, you're my best friend. Like, I'm real sorry about this. And we don't tell them everything right away, but we do tell them about Adurfi. And Liloupar and Azariq end up fighting at some point, and Liloupar calls him a desert spawn with a big mouth and a small head. Like a small brain or a small mind. I was like, oh my God.
Oh, amazing.
And we're like, Liloupar, listen, like, you can trust Azariq. This is, like Jeht's brother, basically. And she's not too sure. And she's like, I don't know, because he follows a two-faced matriarch. And she's basically like, I have eyes on you, bro. Like, I'll be watching you. And that's when we catch them up on everything that happened to us with the ambush and Endurfi. And Jeht's like, you know what? I'm not surprised. Like, he's kind of been on my radar as a possible traitor for a bit now. And I'm like, what? What? Why do you leave Benben with him then?
Yeah. I mean, I guess when everybody on the tribe is on that list, I mean...
Yeah, I don't think anyone in that tribe is considered not a traitor.
Yeah. It's like Benben, that's it.
Just Benben. Babel's not on the list because she made the list.
Yeah.
She was like, he seemed cool at first, but lately he's been saying these weirdly homophobic things to me.
Yes, like, he's been trying to out me in front of my crush. So then... Jeht and Azariq have a bit of like a familial conversation and have like a bit of a chat about like their relationship and what it was like when Jeht first joined the tribe and stuff like that. And then Liloupar interrupts and is like, I want to tell you all a story. And she starts to tell us the story of a time when there was an oasis everywhere and the Jinn followed Nabu Malikata. And then eventually the Jinn made a deal with Deshret. And things just didn't go well from there. But she stops the story. And she's like, listen, I'll tell you more about this as we continue our journey. How's that sound? I'm like, it sounds like a fucking tease. Like, but fine. And then as we're like, wait, Liloupar, you're like not going to tell us more? Azariq is like, do you play cards? And I was like, great, Sino's back.
But I also loved how Jeht kind of asked Liloupar like why she hates Babel more than everyone else.
Yes.
And Liloupar basically tells her it's because Babel reminds her of the old her, which I thought was fun. She's like, well, there's this, let me tell you the story about this genie who wanted vengeance on someone in her family and like got it times 10 for generations and then destroyed the whole kingdom. She reminds me of that person.
You know who else reminds me of that person? Me.
She's like, takes one to know one.
Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah, exactly. And the long story short of it is that she just thinks that she's the type of person that would use her tribe for her own selfish purposes. So she kind of plants that seed in Jeht's mind.
Yes. So we do end up playing cards. And then the next morning we go to prepare for our journey and we find out from Jeht in front of Azariq that in the middle of the night, Babel apparently came looking for him. And he was like, oh, it's just to talk about something with the elders. And we make this game plan of like how we're going to go and we're going to check things out and we're going to this one cave system and whatever. And we decide that we have to go like run our game plan by Babel. So we go to Babel. We tell her our ideas. She tells us it's going to be dangerous. She wishes us good luck. And then Liloupar insults Babel to her face again. And Jeht's like, Liloupar, stop. Like, what are you doing? But we head out. We fight baddies. We are, doing our thing. And we end up splitting up with Azariq before we go into the mountain of Damavan. I forget his reasoning. He's just kind of like, and this is where I leave you. And I was like, what? All right. It's like a Jonathan Tropper novel, but that's fine. So we continue into the mountain without him. We find an abandoned Tanit camp, it looks like. And we try to activate some devices that are in there. And then there's an interesting argument between Jeht, Liloupar, and Paimon, where Liloupar calls Jeht little one. And Jet's like, who's the little one? Do you see how tiny you are? You're a bottle. And then Paimon kind of gets in on it and gets she gets thrown shade about how she's little. And there's like this argument about who is truly a little one. And the traveler is just rolling their eyes. Then we find this like small pool of water with like plants in it, and there's a fragment of Liloupar in it. And she's like, ooh, master, me.
Look,
It's me.
There's that piece of my soul that I dropped.
it's a me, Mario.
It must have been after the 100th betrayal I did. I dropped it over
Yeah.
there. So we go and pick up the fragment, and of course all the plants die and the water goes away. And then the traveler gets lightheaded and blacks out, and we see something from Liloupar's past that she considers shameful. Now, I don't know if I interpreted this correctly, and by see something, I mean we see a black screen with white words. But it kind of seemed to suggest that she was in like a human form, and she was getting kind of like frisky with a human man. That's how I read it, but I could be very wrong.
Well, she had to make babies somehow.
But I thought she says later that she like doesn't have human shame in some other part, but I don't think I wrote it down because I was trying to condense my notes a little faster at the end.
Yeah, I'm not sure. That was just how I read it, which like we know historically that I could be wrong. But it definitely, there was some type of romance going on, and it did say something about, like, shame, and I was like, I wonder if this is, like, her doing this. But whatever. And when we come out of this, like, fog, everyone, of course, is panicking. And we're like, no, we're good. And Liloupar's like, sorry, you had to see that. I'm like, okay.
Sorry, my soul fragment had porn attached.
Literally. She's like, no one could have predicted that. At least it wasn't brutal murder. So we continue to explore, but we run into a bit of an issue where we see this area that we later end up calling a goblet. And we don't know how to get there, what to do, so we leave. And we go back to the surface so that we could kind of get our thoughts together. And we run into Azariq with 2 other people. And it's kind of sus. And someone is like, what are the odds of us running into you again here after you left us? And Liloupar is like, Azariq, Babel, I don't know about them.
She's like a sesameter.
And this is actually when she tells Jeht the story about the Ginny wanting power and saying that reminds her of a lot of Babel. And she does like the likenness to that story. Liloupar then explains that the item causing our issue, even though we are calling it a goblet, isn't a real goblet, but it's a mechanism that Deshret created that will hold the oasis in stasis. Similar to how, the unknown god held the traveler in stasis, or the hypostasis. Take your pick of stasis.
Everybody gets a stasis around here.
Very Oprah of them.
Uh-huh.
The night then ends with Jeht being very nostalgic about her parents. We kind of like camp out. And the next morning, Azariq has something to show us. And he brings us to one of those giant golems in the desert, like the giant ruin golems. And he's like, listen, we can use one of these to cross over the sand quicker and get rid of some of our obstacles. And I have this blueprint from a Dirfi that he left behind that we can use to control it and get shit done. And I think this will kind of skirt around the issues we are having with the goblet. And we're all like, you have blueprints by a Dirfi? But no one really says anything. He just gets mad side-eye about it instead. Which, okay, sure. So we are able to control the mechanism and the golem. And we end up going into 3 separate cave systems from here. The first time we go into a cave system, Liloupar notes that the flowers we see there were from the time of Nabu Malikata and takes it as a sign that we must be doing something right. There are more puzzles. There's more baddies to fight. We're trying to do all these mechanisms. We go to the surface. We use the robot again. And eventually we get to a 3rd cave.
I wish they had shown more of the rune golem moving.
Oh my God, like in the desert?
Yeah, because it's just kind of like, and then we go in the ruin golem and then it appears in the other place.
It would have been really cool if it was like very Iron Giant, right? Like,
Yeah.
And I will say though, this was really cool because the golem does move on the map.
Yeah.
And I remember being like, it's gone! Where did it go? Oh my God! I was so impressed by that. But so we go to this 3rd cave, and there's a lot happening where like the machine is losing like power. We don't know if it's going to successfully get us to this 3rd area, and it gets us to the area, but we have an issue with it. We start to come out of the robot, and as we're trying to leave the robot, Azariq is like, Jeht, I need to talk to you alone. But then he looks at us, and He goes, but first I need the traveler to hand over the mother of Jin into my care. And we're like, what?
Excuse me, big brother?
And Jeht is like, what? No. Like, did Babel tell you to do this? And he's like, no, but you know this just makes sense for us to have it because we can make our soils fertile and blah, blah, blah. And like, think of how good this will be for the tribe if it's in one of our hands. She's better off in our care than this guy. Like, this guy's just going to use her as a trinket. I was like, excuse me? Do I treat Paimon like a trinket?
Yeah.
Like, let's be for real right now. And that's when Jeht is like, I don't know if it's Jeht or Liloupar. They're like, you know that the only way that you could become the master of Liloupar is if the traveler dies. That is the only way to sever their bond. And he's kind of like, yeah.
Okay.
He's like, okay,
sure.
Sounds like a plan.
I can do that.
And this is when Jeht became very like, what is that anime where he like is like guilty, and pointing? Shingsho does it also in one of the Lantern Rites. She's like, you're a traitor, and I'm gonna kill you right now. And he's like, whoa, why do you think I'm a traitor? And like, why, if you thought I was a traitor, why are you just doing something about it now? Because Jet's like, I have proof. And she's like, well, I wasn't going to do anything, and I was going to let you just vibe and do your thing as long as you weren't going to harm one of us. But now you're plotting the traveler's death. That's my best friend, big bro. Like, you can't fucking kill them. And her reasons for him being a traitor outside the fact that he's planning our death is that he isn't doing what Babel instructed him to do. He's learned about northern technology and didn't share it with the tribe, which is against their rules. And she considers what he is doing right now as deceiving the tribe overall. She asks him to a duel, basically, Hamilton style. And he's like, why do you want to kill me now? Like, if you kill me now, you won't have any proof that I was truly a traitor, and they'll think you're the traitor, and you're the half outsider anyway. And she's like, listen, I've been sus of you since before we left. And like I said, now you're threatening the safety of my friend, you're gonna die. She fights him. He actually brought backup, and she's like, all of you are filthy fucking traitors. She gets them all down, and she gives like Azariq one last chance to say something before killing him. And he doesn't say anything really important, in my opinion. And she kills him. And the traveler's like, Jeht, are you okay? And she goes, I think I'm going to throw up. Or like, I feel like I'm going to throw up. And I really thought that brought Jeht back to Earth.
Yeah.
Yeah, she wasn't just some crazy assassin. Like, she had feelings toward it.
Right, because we've been seeing her in like these psychotic ways this whole time.
Mm-hmm.
And now it's like, well, I just killed my friend. And now I'm feeling sick.
Yeah, and I think this is like the beginning of her snapping, which happens fully later.
Mm-hmm.
But this is sort of like the beginning of it, of like, I don't actually know what's real.
And who I can trust.
Yeah.
So we realize that we really have to get the fuck out. We are still kind of in the robot at this point, and it seems like it's getting ready to explode. So we run outside, the robot explodes, it falls to the ground, and that's when we run into Aderfi with Fatui.
Fatu.
The Fatuous.
You're fatous.
The Fatua. And he's like, listen, Jeht, like, I just want to talk. And she's like, I don't talk with traitors. Now, did he run away or did he die?
So Aderfi, he does die, but so like, she kills Azariq, and then we end up confronting Aderfi later, and we find him like with a group of Fatui. Like, he was waiting for us with the Fatui. That's when he tells us, like, I guess reveals part of Azariq's plans.
Well, yeah, I wasn't sure if he died or if he ran away, because it said that he dropped something. But so I guess as he dies, he dropped a note. On that letter he dropped showed that him and Azariq were working together, and that his plan was to kill Babel and marry Jeht so they could rule the tribe together, which makes that comment about her being into the ladies earlier even grosser.
Yeah, so creepy.
Because
like, this was going to be a forced marriage?
Right, and it's like he's basically acknowledging that she's into ladies, and then is like, but I'm gonna marry her.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll marry her anyway.
Creepy.
But yeah, so this is when Jeht is like, listen, we gotta go tell Babel. And Liloupar is like, no. We will not be telling Babel, you can't do that. We need to finish this journey so that you can prove to Babel that you aren't a traitor, and you can come back with proof that you've been to the Eternal Oasis. And Jeht is like, all right, yeah, like, you're right, floating bottle who has committed many war crimes. And Jeht also mentioned something about, like, how she really wants to bring their heads back, which I thought was funny with the dignity comments from earlier. But we get back to the point of like finding this oasis. And Liloupar's like, listen, the robot couldn't get us where we needed to be, but when it fell to the ground, it broke a hole in the ground, and we can use that hole to get where we need to go. So we continue into our new third cave, and this is when Liloupar makes a comment about how the area we're in is a water supply station, but it's also kind of a temple because the three gods of the desert, Nabu Malikata, Deshret, and Rukkhadevata, provided them with water. Therefore, you know, you kind of have to honor them at the same time. And then we find another fragment of Liloupar. And this time when we get the memory, we're seeing through the lens of honey. So we kind of see the honey murder.
Cue the Mariah.
From there, we do some more devices, we fight more baddies, and we finally make it back to the quote-unquote goblet that isn't a goblet that we saw the day before. And we go down to this area that we later find out is basically an elevator platform that will bring us to the oasis. And we fight some baddies there, and there's a device, and it has Farigay in it.
Yeah, Farages, who knows?
Something like that. And Liloupar is like, this is my sister.
/ security bot.
Yes. And we're like, but she's not in a bottle. And she's like, that all gin go in bottles.
Yeah. What's interesting is in our Liloupar and the Fall of Gurabat episode, I think it was that one, we do go over some lore where we find out that Liloupar and her daughter at one point were fusing like the spirits of Jinn into, you know, mechanical things, like constructs, like even I think the rune golems at one point had like pieces of genie soul inside of them.
Yeah.
So it actually makes sense with the lore. But at the time when you get there, you're like, who's this security bot sister? Like, she's a genie, but she's also a construct.
Very confusing at first.
Yeah.
And Liloupar has to say goodbye to her, and we kind of like release her from the throes of this mechanism that she's been living in for who knows how long. I'm sure she also endured some war crimes at Liloupar's hands.
Poor Farages.
Poor Farages. She just wanted to live, man.
Yeah.
And then we use the elevator to go to the oasis.
Not a space elevator yet, but
an oasis elevator.
Yeah.
What were your thoughts when you first saw the oasis?
Gorge, Washington.
Yeah, I was awestruck. I thought it was so pretty. And not that I was surprised by it, but like it just, I don't know, it blew me away, I guess.
Now, for travelers who might need a quick refresher on the beauty of this area, it is an area that is basically stuck at like twilight or dawn or one of those things where the sky is pink. Everything is frozen in time. So the birds are frozen in the air half like mid-flight. There's a bunch of water. You walk on the water. You do not swim in the water. And also, there are 3 wooden chairs on an island in the middle next to like a tree of sorts, which we do find out later on are like 3 chairs or 3 thrones for the gods of the desert. So Nabu, Rukkhadevata, and Deshret. And we want to remember that we are under the impression that this is the final resting place of Nabu Malikata. Mm-hmm. And Liloupar is under the impression here that Nabu is alive here, and this is where she's kind of vibing and hanging out.
Yeah, she thinks she's slumbering here because that's what Deshret told the Jinn, because they were her familiars, but she's actually dead, so she's not here.
This is the way you said it. So she's not here.
This is when Liloupar kind of explains that the place is frozen in time and purposely meant to be this beautiful. When we go out to that island that I mentioned that has the 3 chairs on it, and we don't find Nabu sleeping, but instead we find another fragment of Liloupar. And when Liloupar absorbs this final fragment, we see another flashback, and we get to see the goddess of flowers in this flashback. But she's got like a faceless void head. It's very scary. And I think it says that we can feel that like Jeht is holding our hand, trying to get us out of this like trance.
But we don't. But we, the audience, don't actually see it, right? It's
No, it's a black
Traveler.
screen, white text.
Yeah.
Bullshit is what it is.
They describe it well, though, because it's sort of like when she whispers in our ear, you know? And it's like, because isn't it kind of described as like the most beautiful thing you've ever seen?
Yeah.
But then if you stare directly into her eyes, it's like some kind of emptiness.
I imagine it to be like the tidal pool from our last episode. Just a void that leads to a splunking cave.
Wait, her face?
Yeah.
With the whirlpool.
We're going to splunk in her face?
Yeah, why not? We've done weirder things in this game.
You know what? I can't argue that.
Hey, whirlpool face.
Hey, splunkin' face. That's what you're going to...
Splunk face. That's it. Splunk face.
It's just splunk face. Now, remember when I talked about the really ugly person? It's splunk face.
Oh my god.
The goddess of flowers is really like the ugliest person in Teyvat.
And so Liloupar is like super upset. She's like, oh my god, like Deshret lied to us. Like she's already dead. Like he told us that she was laying here. But then Liloupar is like, you know what though? And being in this place, I'm not necessarily angry. I'm just sad. But Jeht even makes a comment that even though she feels like she should be sad here, that she can't help but feel like uplifted. And Liloupar's like, that's the power of like my maiden, like my goddess. Like that's what she does.
Now, do you feel like Liloupar not being enraged in this moment is like her version of growth? Like personal growth?
No, because I really think it was just the power of Nabu Malikana. I don't think it had anything to do with Liloupar. Because Jeht also mentions at one point that she feels like she should be like very sad, but she's not. And that's
I see. So you think it's just like the mystical area itself influencing?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
I like that idea.
I was like, oh, because like picturing her being like, as soon as she finds out that she's not there and that Deshret deceived her, I was like, well, thank God Deshret's already dead, because otherwise, and it's like, thank God we don't know of any of his actual immediate descendants, because she would enact some kind of plan of vengeance.
She would really get along with Eula. She likes exacting vengeance. Like, oh, vengeance will be yours, Eula. Vengeance was hers.
Oh, that would be such a fun storyline if they took Eula to Sumeru and she somehow accidentally got possessed by Liloupar.
Oh my god. Well, joke's on you. But anyway, so Jeht, while Liloupar is starting to grieve, Jeht goes to find a spot to lay her parents to rest. And she finds this tree, and us and Liloupar kind of join us. And this is when Jeht is like, you know, I feel like I should be sad, but I'm not. And since she doesn't have ashes or bodies, she lays her mother's notebook down and her dad's axe down. And she does mention, you know, that in this notebook, her mother had a lot of sketches and that the area reminds her of that. And it makes a lot of sense for her. And she's very happy to see that her parents will now be together for eternity.
Do we know how her parents like were able to get there, or were they for sure able to get there before? Like, I know they were both like in love with the place, but like, had they actually been to the Oasis before? Like, I feel like when I was reading it, it's like she implies that they have, kind of, because she's like, I went on a lot of adventures with my dad and saw like a lot of impressive things, but the one thing that always stuck with him was the Eternal Oasis. But it didn't say like he loved it there.
Yeah, or like he just loved the idea of it. I felt like they didn't actually go.
Yeah, because it's like, how would they get there, right?
Yeah, like wasn't somewhere that people could readily get to, or that many people had gotten to. Kind of like the mysterious island. You know, like I think that he like was obsessed with or really loved the idea of the place, which I think makes it a little bit even more touching that she leaves their stuff there.
Yeah, it was like their goal retirement.
Yeah.
But yeah, so she lays her parents down to rest, and we go back to Babel. And we find out that before we left to go on this journey, Babel and Jeht had actually talked about Azarik and the possibility of him being a traitor. And I was like, wow, guys, no one looped me in? Really? And Babel's like, yeah, like, I warned you about him, Jeht, but you decided to take him with you anyway because, you know, he was like a brother to you. And she's like, yeah, like, here's the proof that him and Aderfi were working with the Fatui. And then Liloupar is like, girl, hold up. Babel, you sent people to this area before. We saw your tent there. I'm assuming it didn't go well and then you made the area taboo. Like, why'd you do that? And then send us there. Like, you said no one there until us. And she's like, listen, yeah, you're right. I have sent many people down there and a lot of my scouts have not come back. But I knew that Jeht would be able to do it. And I think Liloupar and I both made the sus face at that. And that's where the story ends. And I just gotta say, I totally thought that Babel died in this. And I 100% thought that she died in the last quest.
Yeah.
And I started my notes. I don't know if either of you noticed it when I started them like a week ago. I had wrote what we remember from last time. Jabriel, dead. Babel, dead.
Yeah.
Benben, here. I was really convinced that this bitch died.
Me too.
You mean at the end of the Bilqis quest, or you thought she died?
I thought she died at the end of Golden Slumber first.
Yeah.
You like she wasn't even in the Golden Slumber. Well, but we did talk about her in that episode because, and I forget, I'm assuming Jeht didn't know this, but we find out like the whole backstory of Jabriel in that, and like how he and his traitorous, speaking of traitors, his traitorous bestie Sumeru, how they were like, you know, born into the Tanit Tribe, but then they were like way too excited about Deshret. So Babel basically had one of her other tribes people go on some kind of expedition with them and then try to murder everyone. But then Jabriel and Sumeru were like the only two survivors, so they left, and then they started basically their own tribe that was all about Deshret. But then when Jabriel fell in love with Euphira, Jeht's mother, and had Jeht, he was like, I don't want to like do all this dangerous exploring anymore. Like, I want to like settle down a little bit and do something safer. Then Sumeru basically went cray-cray and killed Euphira. And that's when Jabriel like took Jeht and escaped. So going back to that quest, like we kind of already knew that Babel was a shady ass hoe.
Yeah.
But I don't think we really paid attention to it until like we went back and researched that episode, because I think it's kind of, you didn't know at the time that that's going to be important information much later.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of this, like, if you go back and listen to like our, like we said earlier, like our Liloupar and the Fall of Gorobot episode, it's like, we didn't know any of this shit about Liloupar when we met her in this quest.
Mm-hmm.
When I was getting ready for this episode, I expected a lot more Liloupar lore to drop in it, and it didn't.
Right.
So that's where we leave Jeht here, but there are two very short story quests that kind of follow up with this that we could summarize pretty quickly.
Yeah, so basically the day after all this goes down, Jet's like, oh shit, I killed Aderfi, but he was trying to fix Benben. What do I do? So we like rush to Aderfi's tent with her, and you know, we find Benben, and we never really got the story on what was going on with Benben. We just knew that like they were trying to fix him or it. And so, you know, we discovered when we get there that she tells us like basically after the Golden Slumber quest, Benben just gradually started losing power and like getting weaker and weaker. And so she talked to Aderfi about it, and Aderfi, having his special contacts out in the world, was like, oh, this isn't a big deal. I can take care of this. So when we go to his tent after he's dead and start looking through his things, we find evidence that he was making a deal with the Fatui involving some energy transformation capacitors. Basically, the Fatui, what they really wanted was Benben, because they were like, a primal construct is valuable. But since he is dead now and he's never going to show up to the meeting that was supposed to happen with the Fatui, but we also kind of can't leave Benben there because they have procedures that they do with traders' belongings. So we're like, okay, you stay here with Benben. We'll go meet or we'll go steal those capacitors from the Fatui. So we do that, and the Fatui that we find in the meeting place are basically really scared because Adelphi's now missing, and they kind of bring up some suspicious behavior of Babel's. And things are just getting like a little, they're just very nervous, but we're basically like, where are the capacitors? And they're in the Fatui stronghold over there. So we go and we get the capacitors, we come back to the camp, and they work, and Benben is resurrected. So, and basically Jet's just like, yay, Benben's back. And then I think you wait another day after that for the next quest. And this is like the dramatic conclusion of everything that you might have been expecting, but then because they make you wait, you're kind of not expecting it.
And I feel like this like took forever to like go for me, like for this next part, like even longer than it should have. For some reason.
Oh, like to activate or whatever?
Yeah, to activate. Like I was missing something. And I kept going back. I'm like, where's Benben? Where's Benben? Like I knew what was supposed to happen.
I think you're right. I think it's like almost hidden. Like you have to go to the right place or talk to the right person.
You got to go like eat a crocodile or some shit.
Yeah. Speaking of crocodiles, so this one starts with Yufton, and he's asking us to investigate a disappearance of a supply caravan. So we go and check it out. But it turns out to, guess what, be a trap.
No.
Dun, dun, dun.
We're attacked by Eremites, but these Eremites are claiming that they were sent to assassinate us by Jeht.
And I'm like, what?
That doesn't sound right. So we go back and we tell Babel about this. And Babel's like, oh, shit. And then the next day, Babel tells us that she has found out that Jeht has been colluding with the Fatui and plans to assassinate us. So she asked us to like go find her and bring her back to the camp. And we're like, okay, I guess we'll go and find her and find out what this is actually about. So we go and search for her, but we, in the meantime, find evidence at these Fatui camps where we're looking for her that Jeht was actually kidnapped.
My baby.
And so we eventually find her, like get through a bunch of Fatui, and then we find Jeht, who, it's funny because when I first played this and I read some of the stuff that was going on around this part, I thought Jeht was like transforming into a literal monster. Because like the stuff she's saying and doing is so vicious. She's like screaming at these Fatui that she's attacking, saying like, I'll rip your livers out. I'll fill the sands with your blood. And is just like going crazy. And when I went back and was researching this, I realized like, oh no, this is like where she actually snaps. Like fully just snaps and is like, I've been taken advantage of by all these people. I'm being used as a pawn. Everyone has betrayed me. I don't know who to trust. These people, are trying to hurt me. So I'm just going to kill all y'all.
Yeah. I don't blame her.
Mm-hmm.
I don't either. Yeah. It was just funny because, I was like, oh my God, did they? Because I was thinking like when I first was reading it, I was like, did she get experimented on by Dottore?
That would have been a twist.
Yeah. So we find her finally, and she's like, basically attacks us. She's like, I know that you're traitors. Say it to my face. And we find out that Babel told her the same thing that she told us. She was like, the Traveler is going to assassinate you, and they're working with the Fatui.
Damn it.
So she had gone to find us, got kidnapped, and is like, I've been betrayed again. And we're like, no, she told us the same thing about you. And so we put it together.
The funny thing is like, yeah, you've been betrayed, but not by us.
Uh-huh.
Not us.
Exactly. You've been betrayed by Temu Signora.
Aw.
Facts.
So, of course, Jeht is like, oh, this bitch. So we realize she's the culprit behind everything. We go back to the camp and confront Babel. She reveals her evil ways. And, she basically admits that she wants control of the Oasis because if she has control of the Oasis, she can control all of Sumeru. She's like, basically the whole structure of Sumeru topples because with the Oasis, I can control the sands and the fertility and everything. And so Babel uses this to try to convince Jeht that if that happens, if she gets the power of the Oasis and can control Sumeru, she'll make Jeht the successor of the tribe. And Jeht is like, has this really great moment where she's basically like, you ain't my mama. My mama's name is Euphira.
And she's dead.
And she's dead. And she's basically dead because of you. So we and Jeht then have to basically slaughter the whole Tanit Tribe to get to the final encounter with Babel, which was really disturbing. I don't know about y'all, but I felt bad because I was like, what if some of these people don't actually know what's happening?
Yeah. I mean, it's just wild. Slaughter.
Yeah.
It's slaughter, yeah. We're just like, but they're attacking us, so we have to defend ourselves. But
Right.
you feel bad because you're like, these people probably don't know that Babel is the villain.
Yeah.
And that we're the good guys, you know? So we slaughter our way through the tribe. We basically kill almost everyone in the tribe.
So
So
murder.
they're not going to have their migration pattern.
Nope.
Thanks for the info, Catherine, but it doesn't apply.
Does that apply to us?
We'll murder them before they get to that point.
So we get to this final encounter with Babel, and Babel's like, about to die. And she asks Jeht, she's like, why wouldn't you want to stay loyal to the tribe? Like, we're your home. We're like, blah, blah, blah. And Jeht's like, because the traveler is my best friend, and you tried to kill him for her.
I'm like, yeah, bitch.
And so Babel then kind of admits, like, well, I was going to get rid of you anyway. So even if you had, said, okay, I will be loyal to the tribe, I was actually going to kill you anyway. And so Jeht's like, great, good to know, and then kills her.
And then she's actually dead.
Yeah.
Now my dreams became a reality.
Yeah, you were right.
I thought she died. I was like, wait a minute, this bitch died.
I also thought she died at the end of Bilqis. I got to the end of when I was taking notes, and I was like, wait, what?
Yeah, why isn't this bitch dead?
I was like, wait, we're just leaving her?
So Babel's finally defeated. The tribe is basically destroyed. And Jeht and Traveler, I kind of love it too, because Jeht basically got like vengeance on Babel trying to kill her father.
Mm-hmm.
So Jeht and Traveler, they leave the camp, and she's kind of like, well, I'm homeless again now. And Traveler tries to just give her a new perspective and is like, basically like, actually, you've been freed. Like, you don't have to belong to a tribe. You can just wander the world and belong wherever you want. And if you come to the Twink Tank, we have a 2-for-1 special on Tuesday. Maybe we can find you a nice lady.
But ladies' night's Thursday.
But yeah, you do have a place to belong in this world, Jeht. It's called the Twink Tank.
Yes, and we're open every day, 24/7.
So yeah, she decides to take that advice and then basically heads off into the sunset with Benben. And that is the last we see of her until an episode coming up very soon that we will, where we will talk about her next appearance.
I love the idea that Ben's like, let's go, lesbian. They walk away.
One of the things in that episode that'll be coming up is we have a voice for Jeht and for Liloupar. And it's the best gift that we've gotten in a while.
Yeah.
I don't know. I've gotten better gifts, but I was excited.
I loved it. I love seeing Jeht walk around like with a little she struts.
I also just want to put a pin in something. I don't know when. I mean, it'll maybe be next season when we talk about this lore nugget, but there is this crazy lore nugget in Lowen's story quest that has kind of spawned a theory between me and Feeny about angels.
Yes.
And when I was going back over this, I saw something about Nabu that helped reinforce that theory.
And I think we could say the theory without spoiling anything, really.
Okay.
Our thought is that angels can take their own shapes and forms, and they can, right? That's what you're talking about, that one.
They're like shape shifters. Did Nicole tell us that though?
Yes. But
okay,
it's because is that angels basically used to be dragons.
Wait, shut up. Really?
That's what we think.
It's
maybe.
a theory. It's just a theory. And there's a reason that we came to the theory, but there's this thing about Nabu where she's described as having horns.
Oh.
on her head. And like the horns that Milu has on her headpiece are like an homage to that.
Or even the idea that because we know that the primordial one created the angels to kind of be like her liaisons and like her diplomats among the people, and that the people at the time, even if they weren't dragons, the angels, the people at the time may have been more familiar with dragons and they might have taken a dragon shape because of that.
Oh.
So there's a lot, and we won't spoil Lohan's story quest and why we think that specifically. We'll save that for next season. Lohan and Varka's story quests have given me so much fanfic nonsense to deal with for my character. I mean, poor Brandon. I was like, you're the only one I can tell this to because my friends who also write fanfic hadn't gotten to it yet. And I was like, so I think this is going to happen to Nat. I was like, and then this, and then with the Sumeru stuff, I was like, I've been very well fed. Like that's Sabrina, the teenage witch meme from like the original Sabrina, where like they're all feeding her food, like all the Harveys. That's me. But anyway, did you guys want to add anything else in about Jeht and her life story?
No, just love her, want the best for her.
There was one thing that I wanted to bring up, and it was more so about Benben. Because like you said, there's a lot of like religious stuff that comes in with a lot of the namings and stuff like that in Sumeru. And there's a Benben stone that is a sacred pyramid-shaped stone from ancient Egyptian mythology. And it represents...
I think we talked about that.
Did we talk about this in the last one?
I think so.
Yeah, because we talked. It's a primordial mound of creation. It probably, because it's a really interesting idea that why they choose that name.
Yeah.
You know, like because they're good with like connecting things.
Yeah, and it's sometimes seen as or imagined as like a top of a pyramid, right?
Yeah, like with the sun, a sun symbol on it and stuff. So it's like he's a triangle. I don't know why I've assigned him a he either, because we don't actually know.
It's probably because of the name Ben.
Yeah. But when it's a double, like yeah, like I don't know. It's an interesting idea of will that actually come into a little bit more of, you know, will we learn more about Jeht and like considering that Benben's like almost like part of her because of them being BFFs, like will there be something that, you know, she kind of turns out to be a little bit more, even more important?
I hope so. I want her to get a vision.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, she deserves a vision so much. But that being said, I do think that's all the time we have for today. We're going to skip over to our mail segment so that Kirara can get going. I heard that she has some other plans going on right now, which I'm like, where? You work for us on these days, lady. But that's fine. I'm sure she's going to find some crumkake from other podcast hosts.
Oh my God. I'm sorry. It's a slight side because you said crumkake. So the World Cup has been going on, and you all know I'm obsessed with soccer. So I've lived and breathed the World Cup constantly for the last 28 days. And my sister is finally caught on to liking soccer. And she loves, as most of the world does, Holland from the Norway team. He's just a really funny character of a person, but he's also a really fantastic player. So my sister's been obsessed with Norway, and she goes... She's like, what's a popular like food, like, or a dessert or something like that from Norway? I'm like, actually, I have no idea about Norwegian food. So she goes over and she asks Alexa. She goes, Alexa, what is the most known dessert from Norway? Krumkake. That's how she said it.
Crying.
Dead. I was dying. And she's crying because it's hysterical. Krumkake either. It's hysterical. And I was like, now I'm trying to explain to her, like, well, it's in the game that I play. Like, you know the game? And now I'm like going way too far into it. But I brought up how someone in our Discord had also made them because they were trying all different kinds of foods and stuff. And they made them, and we likened them to pizzelles turned into cones because we're Italian. So that was like the closest thing we could get to. But yeah, it was, I am sorry that I just took that on a little sidetrack, but it was hysterical.
It makes sense, right? Because they get a lot of that non-fry lore from that region.
Yeah. But yeah, we don't have any krumkake or krumkaka, however you're preferring to say it, for poor Kirara. So she's getting ready to leave. So our first message comes from Crow, Qrow. So hopefully we're pronouncing that right. And they said, "Hello, my favorite podcasters.
Thank you.
I suddenly thought of a theory. I thought of it a year ago, but was scared to write an email to you. But my weird theory is when
Don't be scared.
I know, right? Is that your theory, Brandon? Don't be scared.
Don't
Yeah.
ever be scared.
When Diluc was caught by the Fatui, they made him the 10th Harbinger without his consent. And maybe he doesn't even know about it. But when he ran away with Nefer's help, the seat became empty. So there's no active 10th Harbinger. And maybe the Saritsa thinks that Diluc knowingly or unknowingly will play a part in her plan."
Ooh.
That is a good theory for on many levels, but the idea of there being like, even if he knew, like a stealth harbinger, that's wild.
I kind of love the idea that like Diluc is a genius and so smart and so intelligent, so like creative and sneaky, and somehow he does not know he was made a harbinger. Like that just seems like something that he'd be like, "Wait, what?"
Yeah.
And like it would totally, and Kai would be like, now, brother, you didn't know? Like you've been all over my like my paperwork for like the last month. He'd be like, "What? Kaya, why didn't you tell me about this sooner?"
Yeah.
He'd be like, "Well, I thought you knew."
It would make sense that Nefer would know, being a part of the intelligence network, that like she would find out that info
Mhm.
to be able to help him out.
This is also suggesting that Nefer maybe helped Diluc escape the Fatui after he
Yeah.
ran away there,
Mm-hmm.
which is an interesting theory as well. We don't really know how Diluc got out of Shnezdaya. We know he went on a murderous rampage over there, but at 18.
Right. I mean, it could make a lot of sense. I actually love this theory, especially because Nefer likes to play with people's memories. I mean, she at least likes to peek inside and run around. So
Oh
it
shit.
could make sense, you know, like they could
Yeah.
definitely build that into the story, like especially and it would be like such a twist if like we get to, you know, this like pinnacle moment in Snezhnaya and Diluc shows up and the streets is like, "Let me pull out my magic button." And then everyone's memory gets
I'll pull out your
restored.
magic button.
Oh no.
Oh my. Diluc's magic button. Where Amanda put that in your fanfic.
Already there. Not with Nat though, because they're siblings. Adopted siblings, but still, we're better than Caleb.
But I love the idea that, like, you know, people's memories of it were erased, but like the Sarisa could turn around and like activate it. And everyone's gonna be like, "Oh shit."
Mm-hmm.
I also love the idea of like Diluc showing up and him getting one of those Harbinger pop-ups and kind of, you know how like the witches have become aware of them?
Yeah.
Like I like the idea of Diluc seeing it and being like, "What the fuck?
Yeah.
What do you mean I'm a Harbinger?"
Yeah.
It's like owner of the Wand Diary, aka the 10th Fatui Harbinger.
Then it says underneath it, it's like terrible brother to Kaya. And he's like, "Hey," and Kaya's like, "Heh." Which I will say, and this is a little bit of a side note, but you know, we know that Alice is doing the pop-up stuff for the Hexenzirkel and for the Little Witches too in that one event that we did.
Uh-huh.
Has there ever been a thought that maybe Alice is the 10th Harbinger and that she's also giving that power to the Harbingers?
Ooh.
Or that a Hexenzirkel witch might be the other Harbinger and is using Alice's magic for that?
Yeah. I mean, there's also Gold, who's taken on multiple jobs.
I don't like her. Oh, I guess then her being a Harbinger might work. But thank you, Crow.
Thank you, Crow.
Thank you, Crow.
So our next message comes from Hino, and they said, "All right, I got a question. Have the Tot crew ever done anything in real life, or even outside of if it's game related, for an event or character? Not gonna lie, I've bought desserts for officials' birthdays before."
I love that. Well, we did our little side episode where we made cocktails of like foods from Teyvat.
But that wasn't really like to celebrate a Genshin event.
No, it was like if we were like spring breaking.
Yeah, I feel like we've done a couple things. Like we went to that Genshin pop-up, but it wasn't like for
Don't remind me.
an in-game thing.
Yeah.
It was, you know, it wasn't like an event or like an anniversary or someone's birthday that's in the game. So I don't think we've ever done that, have we?
I will throw tomatoes because that's what Kaveh would want, apparently.
Well, we did do a birthday stream for Shang Yun's birthday one year where we streamed on my Twitch channel for his birthday, and we did the you can only play as Shang Yun.
That was for his
Show or
that was for
Shenhe.
your birthday.
No, that was for Shang Yun's birthday.
Oh, I remember.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I remember that. And fighting the freaking
Oceanid.
Yeah.
At Xing Show. And I will throw out there, now, I don't know if you guys remember this or not. I'm twirling my hair as I say this. So we released our first episode on September 14th of whatever year, 2022 maybe? Which was a Wednesday. The day before, September 13th, is Albedo's birthday. And I always kind of felt in my head that our first episode, I'm twirling it, I really am. I always felt like our first episode was an homage to my love of Albedo.
I'm glad that you had that for yourself.
You did not share with the class because it would not have been accepted by the class.
So to answer the question, one of us has done that.
Yeah, but you know, I'm not gonna lie, like this makes me want to like I should have a glass of wine on Venti's birthday.
Yeah.
You know, like
totally.
I should make because Death in the Afternoon, which is Kaya's favorite drink, is a takeoff of a real drink. But like, that'd be fun. Like, make a Death in the Afternoon on Kaya's birthday. Or Albedo loves desserts, so just have a piece of cake on his birthday.
Remember when you tried to convince me that his birthday was like your birthday because it had like two of the same numbers?
Well, we're both born on a 13, so yeah, it is very similar.
You're like, it's like we have the same birthday. I'm like, you're not the same birthday.
But like, it's very similar.
And when she was 13, she saw someone with blonde hair.
Shut up! Yeah. I will say too, and I didn't do this for Albedo's birthday, but I went into my hairstylist and showed her a picture of Albedo and was like, that's what I want my hair color to be. And I have black hair naturally. And she did it. We succeeded. It was great. But yeah, so we haven't done anything but too hardcore, Hino, but I think you're inspiring us.
Yeah, totally.
To maybe do something. We should celebrate our favorite characters. That would be fun.
Mm-hmm.
Also, Amanda does do like little cute things like that for the pod. Like she'll give Tiff and me like little gifts. It's like, it's our podcast anniversary. It's very sweet.
It's fun. It gives me a reason to make merch for myself too. I'm like, I really want a hat. Here's a hat, everyone. It is fun, and it's nice to celebrate. Like, we usually celebrate like the start of a season, the anniversary of the podcast. And I will say, while not Genshin related, my master's graduation was Albedo themed, was Genshin themed. I had them make the cake that's the first year birthday cake with like the moon and everything on it. And I ordered off, I think they were off Amazon. I don't remember, it was so long ago. But they were these little like cutouts of the Genshin guys, like the Genshin figurines, not to be confused with the podcast Genshin guys. Imagine I just had like a little cutout of J-Side. But they're like these little cutouts of the characters, and like I taped them to toothpicks and like put them in like cupcakes or whatever. But some of them were like not right. Like Albedo had Eula's legs.
Oh yeah.
And it was beautiful, but it didn't make any sense. Albedo's hips were not lying. He could have flamingoed.
But was vengeance his?
Definitely not.
Oh.
I had that one for a while. I still have the Barbara and the Shingsho ones because I put them in my plants. I'm like, they're watering my plants. Because I'm a weirdo. But anyway, thank you, Hino, for the question.
Thank you, Hino.
Thank you.
That is all the time that we have for today. If you like this episode or you didn't, you can email Albedo at talesoftevatpod@gmail.com. Maybe he'll let you know what he wants to do to celebrate his birthday with you this year. You can also feel free to follow us on Instagram, Tales of Teyvat Pod, or on Twitter, Tales of Teyvat. We're also on Threads, Blue Sky, and YouTube under the same titles. Travelers can also feel free to check out our Ko-fi, where you can buy us a cup of coffee, or check out our merch store, where all proceeds go to making sure this podcast can be up and running, because unfortunately, this isn't our full-time gigs. So we do need help sometimes. It also goes to making sure that the Twink Tank is properly staffed. We want to make sure that Kaveh gets paid, unlike from Dory. And sometimes we buy some Diet Sunkiss now that is the only drink I want to drink. Thanks, Brandon.
You are welcome.
In our next episode, we are going to be joined by a very special guest of ours and someone that you guys all know well, but we'll keep it a secret for now. And you're going to see us talk about Tiff's favorite character of all time across all game universes.
Yay.
There's going to be a lot of groaning.
As we discuss General Guru
and his fluffy, fluffy tail.
and his strategy.
God help me now.
This is why we need to bring another person on for this episode. To balance out Tiff. Until then, safe journeys, travelers. We will see you next time.
Bye, nerds, you obstreperous oafs. Oh, the tedium.